Why does long distance feel so easy for some couples and so challenging for others? Well, a lot of it comes down to your attachment style. So, the way that you're wired to connect with other people, it can either be your superpower or your biggest obstacle when you're miles apart. And before you can build the rituals and the communication that keep love alive, you have to understand the blueprint that you're working with. Because attachment styles, they don't just disappear when distance is added, they're usually amplified. And so the unique pressures of a long distance relationship, I'll just call it an LDR, they can turn minor attachment tendencies into major relationship challenges. By the way, I'm Kaylee Larkin, and I help people who are ready to give up on love, to release old patterns, and to attract a secure, fulfilling relationship. So here's how each attachment style typically navigates an LDR and what you can do to make it work. So first, there's secure attachment. A securely attached person has a strong sense of self-worth, and they're comfortable with both intimacy and independence. And they can thrive in an LDR. They're naturally built for it. They trust their partner. They don't feel threatened by time apart. They see the distance like a logistical challenge. It's not a reflection of their relationship's health. And they're excellent at communicating their needs without blame. They can self-soothe when they feel lonely. Where they might struggle is they might struggle to understand their partner's anxiety if their partner has a different attachment style. So sometimes they can undercommunicate because they assume that their partner is as secure as they are, and that can feel like distance to a more anxious partner. So how to make it work in that instance is for the secure person to be the anchor, to use their security as a gift to the relationship, to use it to reassure their partner, to create a calm and stable presence, and then just check in anyway. Even if you're the secure person in the relationship, even if you don't feel the need, make a point to check in and ask, hey, how are you feeling about this week? And this proactively addresses any unspoken fears. An anxiously attached person craves closeness, and they can become preoccupied with fears of abandonment. So they often want to know that the relationship is okay. And they can struggle in an LDR because actually this is probably the most challenging style for somebody to do a long distance relationship, because the lack of that physical presence and then the daily stability, that can trigger deep fears around abandonment. So somebody with an anxious style, they might interpret slow text responses as a sign of disinterest, or like the person doesn't love them anymore. They're more prone to protest behaviors like calling repeatedly or starting arguments to get a reaction, or constantly wanting to define the relationship. And then this becomes a self-perpetuating cycle, because the more that they feel distant, the more they anxiously pursue, and the more they anxiously pursue, the more their partner pulls away, especially if their partner has avoidant attachment style, to get space. So then this confirms the anxious person's fears of abandonment, and that's pretty tough. So the most important thing to make this work is to get really good at self-soothing. This is the most important thing to do if you have an anxious attachment style and you're in an LDR. So before you reach out with an anxious request, try something different. Use techniques like journaling or meditation or exercise or one of the self-soothing processes I teach clients in my courses, and you can manage your anxiety on your own. You can also schedule relational stability. So instead of seeking that randomly, just ask for what you need. Like you might say something like, I'd love it if we could set up a couple of regular video calls each week. It just helps me feel close to you. And this meets your need for connection without feeling so needy to your partner. And then be sure to challenge your assumptions. So when your partner is slow to respond, consciously challenge the story that anxiety might be telling you. So instead of, like, if your internal voice is saying, they don't care, shift that to maybe they're busy or maybe their phone died. So let's talk about avoidant attachment in LDRs. So an avoidantly attached person values independence above everything else, and they can feel a little suffocated by too much emotional intensity or too many demands for closeness. And they can, surprisingly or not, thrive in a long distance relationship. That distance gives them relief. So it gives them the space and autonomy that they crave. They don't feel pressured to be emotionally available 24/7, and they can focus on their own life, their own work, their own hobbies, which is where they're most comfortable. So the major pitfall is while they might feel comfortable, their behavior could be perceived as cold or distant or uncaring. So they're kind of known for deactivating, pulling away when things get too emotionally intense. And in an LDR, this could look like going hours or days without communicating, or forgetting scheduled calls, or giving really short, unengaged answers. So to make this work, if you have avoidant attachment and you're doing an LDR, be sure to communicate your need for space proactively. So don't just disappear. Instead, say, I had a really draining day and I need some quiet time to recharge. Can I text you tomorrow morning? And this frames your need for space as a temporary state, not a rejection of your partner. And learn to make bids for connection. So people with avoidance style are good at kind of pulling back, and intimacy also requires you to make these bids, kind of to reach out. So making a small, consistent effort to share something about your day or a feeling, even if it feels a little unnatural, this is the work. This is the stuff that's going to really build that relationship. And then practice recognizing your partner's needs. So understand your partner might want more verbal reassurance than you do. And try not to think of this like a demand, but it's just their way of feeling connected. So providing that is an act of love that keeps the relationship healthy. And finally is the fearful style. And this is the most complex style. It combines a deep desire for intimacy with an equally intense fear of intimacy. So they're often drawn to closeness, but then they sabotage it when it feels too intense to them. So they can struggle in an LDR because it can be kind of turbulent. They may really want that connection and they may be the one initiating constant contact, but then just suddenly feel overwhelmed and shut down. And they can swing between that anxious pursuit and the avoidant withdrawal, leaving both them and their partner a little bit confused. So if you do have this, you probably understand that you're wanting the security of a close relationship, but you're scared of being hurt or abandoned. And that distance can feel safe because there's no immediate fear of engulfment, but it's also scary because it might confirm feelings of being unlovable. So to make this work, be sure to get plenty of support. It's hard to navigate this alone, and focus on the body. So learn to recognize your physiological cues. Notice when you're shifting from wanting closeness into feeling overwhelmed. And you can communicate this shift. You can say, hey, I really want to talk. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed right now. Can we just take a 20-minute break and then talk again? And you can be patient with yourself. So you're navigating these two conflicting drives and just acknowledging both of these parts. There's part that wants to connect and there's part that's scared. And that's totally understandable. So just having self-compassion around that is really helpful. And once you understand your attachment styles, you can start building rituals that bridge the gap. So maintaining a relationship when you're apart comes down to being really intentional. So you want to get really good at communication beyond just a daily update. You want to schedule quality time, like date nights. And this could be a video call where you both dress up and you have a meal together. And then you just totally focus on each other so you don't get distracted by phone or other stuff. And you also want to ask really good questions. So questions that will naturally make good conversation happen. Like, what made you feel proud this week? And you can also use what's called asynchronous communication, things like video clips or voice notes or photos throughout the day. There's different apps for this where you can leave video voicemails or audio voicemails or just sending each other pictures. And hearing your partner's voice tell a funny story about their commute, it's a lot more intimate than just getting a text about it. You can also create shared experiences. So remote intimacy is kind of built on a bank of shared memories. And when you're apart, you have to intentionally create them. So you can watch movies or shows together. You can pick a film and you can start it at the same time during a video call. I know someone who was living long distance from their partner while they were in school. And this was like their Friday night ritual. So they'd get their snacks ready, they'd press play at the same time. I think they would count down to get the same time. And then they'd share the movie together. They'd laugh, at the same places and they'd feel like they were together. You can also cook the same meal, so pick a recipe, get your ingredients, and then cook together over video call. This is just like a nice, simple way to do something domestic and normal together. Or you could play online games. There's lots of cooperative video games or just simple mobile games like online chess. That can be a nice way to bond and to get to know each other in a fun way. You can read the same book, or you can listen to the same podcast, and then that gives you something to talk about and discuss, and then it creates like this private world of inside jokes or topics that are just for the two of you. So how about bridging that physical gap? Because physical intimacy, it's not just sex, it's about touch and it's about presence and the physical awareness of another human being that's there with you. So how can you bridge that gap when you're miles apart? Well, you can send care packages. So you could send a physical box with their favorite snacks, or like a piece of clothing that smells like you, or a book that you think they'd love. That's a powerful reminder that you care about them. And you can plan for the next time that you'll physically be together if possible. So just being explicit about what you miss, saying like, oh, I really wish I could hold your hand right now. It's more intimate than a generic, oh, I miss you. And it validates the physical aspect of your bond also. Or you could surprise them with a gesture. So somebody that I know who was dating remotely, they got their partner dinner as a surprise. They just ordered it remotely. They had it delivered to their door. And it was a surprise, and it was super great for them. Both of them enjoyed that experience. So it wasn't about the food. It was like the message, hey, I'm thinking of you and I'm here even when I'm not physically there. Or you can keep a touch journal, and then each time, whenever you have a physical moment of affection that you wish you could share, like a kiss on the forehead or a hug from behind, you can write it down and you can share the entries with each other on a call. So it's just a really beautiful way to acknowledge that physical void. And how do you build trust and security? Because trust is, of course, so important in any relationship. It's foundational and it's non-negotiable when you're apart. So you got to be radically honest with each other. Like maybe it would be easy for someone to hide things when not physically together. So you need to have absolute certainty, even a pact, to be honest with each other, even when it's uncomfortable, and sharing your fears and insecurities and frustrations about the distance. And definitely don't play games. So don't try and make your partner jealous. Don't use distance as a tool for manipulation. Security is going to come from knowing that you are each other's safe place, even when you're apart. And talking about the future is great. You don't have to have every detail mapped out. So regular talking about the end goal of closing the distance, that's going to just remind you both this is a temporary situation and you have that shared purpose of physically getting back together. And have a clear end game. So this is arguably one of the most important elements to make this whole long distance relationship thing work. Because if you have a long distance relationship without a plan to eventually be in the same place, that can feel really, really hard. So set a timeline. It doesn't have to be set in stone, but just having a rough timeline, like in about 2 years, I'll be ready to relocate. It makes the daily sacrifice feel purposeful. And then work as a team. So treat the challenges of the distance as a shared problem to solve. Like, how can we save up for the next visit? Or what can we do this month to make this time zone difference a little bit easier? And then celebrate your milestones, like the anniversaries of your last visit or the halfway point until your next visit. And marking that passage of time towards your goal keeps you both motivated. It keeps you both connected. So no matter what your style, the key to making an LDR work is awareness and communication. So understanding your own patterns, understanding your partner's patterns, and then consciously creating agreements and rituals that bridge that gap and that honor both of your needs. So if you enjoyed this video, drop a note. Let me know what resonated. I hope this was helpful for you if you're in an LDR. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. This is Kaylee Larkin, wishing you a beautiful relational journey.